It's time to introduce two of our quarterfinal players. To my right, Empire viOLet. To my left, StarTale Squirtle. And they will be duking it out in a best-of-3 live. So of course we want to get their thoughts going into this match. viOLet, you had an incredible day yesterday, and you narrowly made it out of your group. Were you feeling concerned at any point in Group A?
Actually, pretty hard. My every match is 2-1, 2-1, 2-1. So now I just know after 2-1, I feel like very tough, very hard, nervous, you know. So I try to do my best for making 2-0.
Now, your opponent will be StarTale Squirtle, who's known for his very strong PvP and PvT matchups. But what do you think about his Protoss versus Zerg play?
Actually, Imura is pretty imba, so you know it doesn't matter about player. Just yeah, but I try to don't make mistake. If I not mistake, I can win. Yeah.
And of course, I have to ask, score-wise, what is your prediction for this match?
Sorry?
What is your prediction for this match in terms of score? 2-0, 2-1? Do you think it will be close?
It's pretty hard game, but I already say 2-0, so.
Now, I want to begin by asking, you played a pretty intense series against Rhett yesterday. Were you feeling concerned in that series at your chances of not even making it out of the group?
어제 렛 선수랑 되게 어렵게 경기를 이기셨는데 그 경기를 하면서 네, 좀 어렵다, 이거 못 나갈 수 있겠다 이런 생각, 걱정했는지.
어제는 그런 걱정했는데 오늘은 전혀 그런 생각이 안 들어요.
Yesterday I actually did have those concerns, but today I'm not concerned at all.
Now, your opponent is going to be Empire viOLet, who's known for playing extremely aggressively. Are you feeling concerned at all about him in particular, with his ability to strike at so many places at once?
오늘 상대방이 viOLet 선수인데 viOLet 선수는 되게 공격적이고 되게 그렇게 잘한다는 걸로 소문났는데 뭐 특별히 걱정되는지.
동환이 형이 최근에 MLG도 우승하고 해서 이제 우승자를 이겨야지 1등 할 수 있지 않을까 해서 항상 이제 2등만 했으니까. 예.
Recently, viOLet won the MLG Arena, and I just feel like if I don't want to be second place anymore, I should defeat a champion, so I'll beat him.
And of course, Squirtle, give us your prediction for this match in terms of score.
오늘 점수 어떻게 나올 것 같은지 둘이 하면서.
2대0으로 이길 것 같아요.
I'll win 2-0.
Well, only one of those is possible. So we're going to find out which one, happening right now on the second stream casted by the immaculate DJ Wheat and Husky Starcraft. And for now, I'll be stepping away, and when I come back, I'll have the interview with the other quarterfinal going on between Stefano and Parting. See you in a minute.
And man, I could not be more excited. I casted games until like 2 a.m. last night. I think Sean picked up the reins. It went on all night.
You
are
a boss, sir.
It was a ton of fun. We got to watch a lot of players. And also, I'm glad that we were able to cast every single game, even though they were literally kicking people out of the venue. And so now, I mean, that just builds up the story here for today. The games we're going to be seeing are outstanding. We just saw a hilarious interview with Stefano and Parting. I personally was ruffling a little bit about that. That was pretty darn hilarious. And there will be, a lot of people are actually tweeting this at me and on Facebook as well. They're asking me, is there going to be 1 or 2 streams? For the start of the tournament, there is going to be 2 streams for now, so make sure you watch both of those. And then a little bit later, once you get down to only a couple matches remaining, then it should just be the 1 stream.
Yeah, I think as we go through the quarterfinals, just to make sure, because there's 4 matches to play. Obviously, once we get to the semis, then each of those matches will just kind of, we'll just merge the streams. It's
and
the
what's
one
awesome,
time it's okay to cross the streams.
Yeah, it is absolutely true, man. Yesterday was not an okay time to cross the streams. Anyways, we do have, I don't know if they've shown it really on camera, but we do have 3 different booths set up. So that basically means non-stop StarCraft action. So there's not going to be an extremely long break between matches. If everything goes according to plan, But not that it ever does, but if it goes according to plan, then the matches should be pretty much nonstop here.
Yeah, yeah, and we get to kick off with Empire Violet versus StarTale Squirtle. I am really excited of this matchup. You know, this was actually one of those that I thought we might see in the finals. I thought we might see in the semis, but we're getting it right off the bat in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, you can see Violet right here has a ton of games under his belt. We see some players with barely even 100 games on their overall stats, but here you can see Violet has established himself. He's proven himself that he's relatively equal in every single one of his matchups, doing very well versus Protoss right there, and that is going to be the opponent he is going against. And you know what? It's one of those matches that you can't help but love both of the players in this series, because you're going to be having an opponent like Squirtle. You can see second place, third place. He's such a good player. You can look at his win rates there, doing pretty good. And again, he had that crazy run through the brackets.
Yeah. You mentioned that graphic too. We saw this on Reddit, and basically it was like a cut and paste of all these different accomplishments where he had run through without losing a single game here and without dropping a match here. And I think like overall had only dropped, you know, a small number, like I could count it on one hand. And that's pretty badass considering the types of players that Squirtle has had to play up to this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, Violet was saying before that he is from the area. We've talked about that a little bit, so everyone here, of course, wants to be supporting him. I love all players from Oregon. In control some Oregon, so I'm always cheering for him. But yeah, Squirtle is an absolute top-notch player, and he's also a player that I think deserves a little bit more credit, and I think he's just waiting for that big win to be like, hey, look, I am definitely as good as, you know, I think I am. I've won so many series here. Let's just finally take a final. So you can see the first map is indeed going to be Cloud Kingdom here.
Yeah, what do you think about this? I mean, I think that this actually is going to definitely play in favor of Violet not getting, not getting one of his worst maps up front, because obviously if he loses, he's got a choice. We'll probably see Daybreak throughout that, very popular ZVP matchup with just the Zerg. But then it will basically move on to, you know, whatever that third map will be. So the winner of this one can dictate a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a map that I really, really enjoy watching. Again, I always like to point to the fact that it is a map that is, you know, very, very popular here. And also a map that is made by the community, which I think makes it great. And yeah, we're just going to go ahead and get the game set up here. It does look indeed like, there we go, they are going to be in the game right now. And also, this is a map that a lot of players out there, when talking to them, that there's just so many strategies that you can use on this map, which is not necessarily the case with every single map. But this one, just looking at the graphic there, I can't even count that high how many ramps there are. So
yeah, there's a
Zerg
lot.
especially, they're going to be counterattacking you no matter what. And a player like Violet is absolutely going to be utilizing that map, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of Zerglings running everywhere this game.
Yeah, we're definitely going to see that out of Violet. It's one of his most, I guess, trusted assets to just be able to, you know, attack from one area where he's obviously attacking from another front. And guess what? We've got both players in the game. We've got our map selection. I think everyone on stream is ready to rock and roll.
They are so ready. I just had to double check there, because one time I started a game when someone wasn't ready. I will never again have that happen. So
we don't
gotta
like
go
that.
ahead and start the countdown. So thank you guys for tuning in. If you missed any of the action yesterday, just know there was an absurd amount of epic games, because usually a tournament, they kind of get off to a slow start. I mean, let's be completely honest. The players aren't quite warmed up. They're jet lagged. But I know you weren't on the stream with me yesterday, but every single game that we ended up casting, it just seemed to be like, why is this so epic? Why are these games so good right out of the gate? So those will be uploaded. The VODs will be uploaded online. And also, you can watch me and Sean deliriously cast at 2 in the morning after casting for over 10 hours.
Yeah, you guys are monsters, man. I have so much appreciation for you guys to be able to do that. So my hat's off to you guys. And I'm really excited now that we are in. We've got our top 8 players. Unfortunately, for some, it means elimination.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go ahead and introduce our players.
All right, so spawning down in the bottom left side, he's quite the nice guy, I must say, and you did see in the interviews that he does indeed speak English. We were able to talk to him quite a bit. He's feeling pretty good, but had a very close, barely scraping by through his groups. It is going to be Violet.
And up here in the northeast corner as the blue Protoss. He's had such an amazing run. He had an amazing GSL Finals versus MVP. He wasn't able to squeak it out, but people have started to call him the comeback king. Let's give it up for StarTale Squirtle.
Indeed, and I don't know if anyone is currently at a Barcraft, but please do tweet at me if you are at the Barcrafts out there. I'm always kind of curious because, you know, there's always a Barcraft going on no matter what time of day. It is right there, and we do see right now, it does look like Squirtle is going to be going ahead and setting up for the Forge Fast Expand. He has not sent out that probe right away, as he has indeed scouted his opponent. He realizes that the timing of the hatchery and the timing of the spawning pool means that viOLet went for a lot of drones here. There's not going to be a super early pool, and so even if Empire viOLet pulled all his drones, it's not going to do that much. So you don't have to worry about setting up that Forge right away.
No, and I think viOLet is going to take this drone over to the third and go ahead and drop that down with the pylon blocks. Of course, this is why we see that pool first come out of the Zergs, so that they can get a couple of Zerglings, usually 4 right off the bat, take out that pylon and get their third hatchery down. But viOLet is actually, there we go, he drops it down into his third, still chasing that probe around, but he should have some Zerglings out here shortly as the pool is about ready to complete.
Yeah, and DJ Wait, you play Zerg quite a bit, and also
Yes,
in
sir.
talking to a lot of the pro gaming Zergs, they say that like the pylon at the expansion, it doesn't really bug them all that much a lot of times, because if their opponent is going to go for the Forge Fast Expand, they're just going to take the third. Like I was talking to Sheth just this morning about it,
Right.
and he's like, you know, don't look at it like necessarily a bad thing. It's just a thing that happens in a huge percentage of these games.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes you do get that down. Sometimes you are allowed to get that hatchery. But another thing that's kind of interesting is that typically, if your opponent is going Nexus first, they can't afford to put the pylon down.
Right.
So you usually can tell, even though your Overlord gets there really quick, thanks to that Overlord speed buff that it got recently. But it's a nice little sign ahead of time to know, okay, my opponent probably threw his Forge down because he had enough to build the pylon. Here we see the pylon just being chipped away, eaten away by those Zerglings, and we will see this third hatchery go down. This is where viOLet wants to be, a triple hatch going in to Cloud Kingdom versus a Protoss.
And that's exactly what we were talking about a little bit earlier, where this map for Zerg, you have so many ramps, there's basically an unlimited amount. I can't do the exact math on the different attack routes you could actually take on this map, but he's probably going to try and be utilizing that here. If he can draw it out into the mid and late game, the counterattacks are going to be great for him. It's going to be pretty difficult for a Protoss to safely secure a third base without having to commit a lot of units there to defending it. We've seen that happen quite a bit, and in some of the recent games, actually, we'll see multi-pronged roach attacks at the natural and the third, and basically just try and make the Protoss scramble, split up his forces, and go from there.
Yeah, we have this one probe just making his way around, getting hunted by these Zerglings. Another area that's been really interesting this weekend, Husky, is if you look where viOLet's third is, and then you travel on over to the east of that, we've seen a lot of pylons go down here,
Right.
a hefty place for the Protoss to reinforce, and Rhett actually lost a game yesterday as a result of not cleaning up those pylons. So it will be sort of the, I guess, the burden of proof here for viOLet to make sure that he's cleaning that up, and he's already got that Overlord over there, which is a pretty good indication that he's going to be ready for that avenue of attack.
Yeah, I love the positioning of the Overlord here on the right side, and it just shows him that he's not too worried about the units in the center of the map, because Protoss, for the most part, can warp in their army where they want it. What he wants to spot is going to be those proxy pylons, so he looks like he's going to move the Overlord down a little bit. And again, you mentioned that speed buff, which is so important. If you can be more active with your Overlords, you can see a lot more on the map. But right now, just looking at the drone count, it's going to be 35 to 35 across the board for both players. We do see the robotics on the way, but I'm kind of curious to see where viOLet transitions into.
Yeah, I mean, viOLet, I suspect that pretty soon he's going to be hitting that 50 supply. We'll see the Roach Horn, there it is, Roach Horn and the Evo Chamber goes down, and likely to get Lair here with next time he has 100 gas available to him. And I mean, one thing viOLet did see is he did scout that Forge, upgrading away at that +1, and that usually is an indication that there could be some aggression coming out. Here we have the robotics facility finishing up, Gateway 2, 3, and we're likely going to have 4 and 5 following right behind this, but the Overlord will scout all of this happening, and that might give viOLet a chance here to defend if there is some early aggression coming out by Squirtle.
We'll see if viOLet here decides to change his build order based on what he says. We also will see if Squirtle decides to cancel anything, because that got completely scouted there, which is always going to make a Protoss player completely uncomfortable. But if you're going to be sitting back on 2 bases for a little while, you're going to be getting a lot of units anyways. The Zerg is most likely going to know exactly what you have planned. It's just going to mostly be up to viOLet to protect this very vital third base. You have to remember that since he's making so many drones here, at some point he is going to have to start making those roaches. You can see right now his drone count is starting to swell, and we do have the lair tech on the way as well as a macro hatch in the main. So I mean, he's just straight up setting up for a long game here.
Yeah, the 6 gates are done opening up right now. We're seeing Immortals pumped out, and we already have these being rallied up to the front. Now, one thing viOLet does have going for him is this creep spread, but I'll tell you what, Husky, I'm a big fan of just even a single spine crawler at the third. Some will say, well, if there's an Immortal 6 gate all in, there's not much you're going to be able to do, and one spine crawler won't stop it, but it's always just kind of like a oh crap insurance policy. However, viOLet, you know, he's spread his creep. He's now starting to get these Zerglings out on the map so he can get some coverage and watch, and that is going to give him an advantage. But here we see this army moving out, a lot of sentries, an Immortal and a Stalker. If he could keep a Pylon from going down, he's going to be in good shape. We do have one Zealot up here at the third that gets taken out by these Zerglings, and so far we have not seen a Pylon go down quite yet, but there is a probe with this small little army, so undoubtedly there is going to be an attempt at an attack. These Zerglings may deny this third, and they do get the probe, but they don't stop the Nexus from going down.
And I absolutely love what viOLet's doing here. He's being very aggressive with his scouting, just these couple of Zerglings moving around. He's seeing exactly what his opponent's doing. He's seeing, okay, is this going to be a 2 Immortal timing push off of a lot of gateways? Is it going to be an expansion build? What exactly is he going to be throwing at me? You do mention the lack of spine crawlers. He has a Spore Crawler going down, so he wants to make sure that nothing like that is able to take him by surprise. So really the Spore Crawlers aren't going to be doing all that much, maybe spotting the Observer, but I definitely think you're right here with the Spine Crawler is going to be very useful here in these battles. Also, what we see is Hallucination on the way.
And Ventral Sax is coming up, Husky. Actually, we've been seeing a lot of these types of plays come out from Zergs as of late, getting that Overlord speed, getting that Ventral Sack. Overlord speed hasn't been started yet, but since Ventral Sax takes a little bit longer, gets that. But if you can get a nice just set of roaches inside your opponent's base and they are not ready for it, it can do a ridiculous amount of damage.
One Stalker going to get taken out here by these couple Lings. viOLet now being very active with this. He manages to move these roaches all the way across the map. Has to be so careful here. He doesn't have a large enough army at this location to actually take this out. We do see a counterattack with just a couple of Zerglings, but it's not going to be doing all that much damage because there are cannons here ready to prevent that from happening. And it does look like right now the roaches are going to be engaging here. And he does decide to go for the Immortals. Can he kill the second one? That would be huge. He's not losing this many or very many roaches right now, and he could safely back out right now.
That was actually a nice trade for viOLet, getting 2 of those Immortals, picking off a couple of sentries as well. And it's a little surprising that, that Squirtle actually had that army separated in such a fashion. If the Stalkers were there, there's no way he would have been able to sort of abuse that. Now we have a bunch of roaches making their way up the left side of the base. They're going to head on over to the third, and this is where we might see that multi-pronged attack come out, attack at the third, and then go in for the natural at the same time. But guess what? Squirtle knows exactly what's going on because he does have that Overseer, or he does have that Observer in place. He's also going to see the Overlords move in, and so he's going to have a good idea that this drop play is right around the corner.
You know, that is great on him to have the intuition to put that Observer there. Now he knows that there's not only Overlord speed, but the only reason to get Overlord speed versus Protoss is if you're going for a drop. You don't really need it for any other reason, unless you see Phoenix, and that's really handy, but of course we don't see that in this game. So the drop is going to be moving into position here. Now, did Squirtle notice the Overlords and realize that this is going to be happening here? He does have his Stalkers split up. We were talking about this before. Oh no, he may be able to snipe one of the Overlords. It goes down. That's 4 roaches. 8 roaches got to get taken out, so losing those Immortals, not that bad anymore. And now he's going to be holding the ramp right here. DJ Wheat, this is the multi-prong attacking we were talking about, but this is not going in viOLet's favor.
It did not, and you know what? The element of surprise is crucial. However, will viOLet's multi-prong attack pay off? Only 4 roaches got into the main. He's now attacking to the third as well. That is pretty undefended. He's going after the cannons, but I believe that Squirtle should be able to get enough units there in time. Meanwhile, another drop happening inside the natural.
Oh my goodness, viOLet trying those multi-pronged attacks we were talking about. He's continuing. The Immortal there being the gatekeeper, a force field being an even better gatekeeper. They're going to prevent those roaches from doing all that too much damage. He does end up burrowing them there, but an Observer is immediately in position to spot it. It looks like Startail Squirtle is going to be in great shape here. Look at the units lost. Have 7,000 to 4,000. And DJ Wheat, I have to say, I have seen this multi-prong aggression do so much devastating damage to a Protoss. So Squirtle, to be able to spot this, recognize it, dealt with it very easily, and now he is in tip-top shape here.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, only 7 workers killed in that engagement. Sure, he lost a little bit of mining time at his natural, But that was well defended there by Squirtle. Now a fourth is going down for viOLet after that failed aggression. He's getting his infestation pit, but I do not like, oh, hold on, we got another engagement. There's a bunch of stalkers are coming out, and these roaches are just not ready to deal with that. In fact, he's gonna blink forward and pick off a few more. The infestors are not even close to coming out yet. He still needs pathogen glands as well, so viOLet is going to have to back off. He's got a miss rally, unfortunately, and he will lose a couple of roaches that he did not need to lose. But that fourth, I don't know if he's going to be able to keep this up.
Right now, the upgrades for Squirtle are looking pretty darn good. He is currently sitting at 2 attack, 1 armor, and we do see the 3rd attack on the way, and I cannot emphasize how important that +3 versus Zerg is. That's just kind of what the metagame is at right now, where Protoss goes for straight +3 as quickly as possible. It does look like an attack over here on the 3rd base, and he is forced to retreat here. Nice force field there, delaying that army from slipping through there, but this could be a lot of sentry kills here. I believe 5 sentries will go down, and this is kind of the momentum that viOLet exactly needs here, but can Squirtle actually hold this up? He wants to save this Nexus as quick as possible, but I don't know if he's going to be able to do it.
I do like this. He's targeted firing the Nexus, and then he'll go ahead and get out of there. No more sentries, so he can't force through. But there's the blink on top of the roaches, and there's a few roaches in back still dealing with those immortals. It looks like the roaches are going to be able to escape, but not without some significant losses. What do we have coming up behind this? A bunch of lings and a bunch of roaches coming behind this. Pathogen glands is done, so the first infestors can come out, and there are the first 3.
Now you got to remember, roaches are very cheap on the minerals and gas, but very high on the supply cost. So you can see he is at 174 supply. Is he going to get stuck at a supply cap? This is one position that Protoss players like to find themselves in, where the Zerg all of a sudden has 200 max roaches, but he can't actually kill off the Protoss. That allows the Protoss to get out Colossus. It allows the Protoss to get out Zealot Legs and Archons, things like that. But, you know, he could find himself in that position. I don't think Squirtle can actually kill his opponent right now, so he's going to have to play a little bit of defense.
I mean, the one thing that Squirtle did do in that whole last series of engagements was cancel that 4th. I know that viOLet is going to be needing it very soon. He wants that ramped up production as well. His drone count's looking good at 68, but not that far behind is Squirtle with 64, even after losing some of those initial drones. With the infestors are out, the lings added to this should be a good addition. However, I don't think we have carapace at all. There we go, +1 carapace is done, but +2 has not been done, and now we have the hive on the way, and we might see these guys meet here on the left side of the map as the 4th and the 5th has now gone down for viOLet.
Man, I gotta say, I love what Squirtle's doing here. He knows that he's lost quite a bit in that last engagement, but he also knows he's killed quite a lot, and you have to remember that viOLet has invested a lot in the roach upgrades and also the Overlord speed and drop, and so this army is not as fully upgraded as it could be if he just focused on a ground army. So what that means now is the longer this game goes on, Squirtle's army is going to get larger and larger. He's going to pull further and further ahead with those upgrades, and I think viOLet knows exactly what's going on in this game, so he knows he needs to double expand, and at some point, he's going to have to throw these roaches away. He's going to have to get rid of some of that additional supply he has, because a max roach army versus a max Protoss army, that's going to be very one-sided in favor of the Protoss.
Yeah, and you know what? Here we have the Overseer going into the main. A Changeling was dropped down, and it looks like the biggest avenue or the biggest course of attack might actually be to go for that natural, but here we see the move out from Startail Squirtle. The Observer has spotted this 4th base, but I don't think he realizes there. He now knows where the army is in relation. He's got to be careful. The Fungals are here. He gets a Fungal.
Nice.
Oh, nice. He completely misses that thanks to a blink.
Wow. You know, it's very difficult to dodge Fungals because they're almost instant, and that's showing you just how good of a player Squirtle is here, but also just how good viOLet is. He was able to get over there in time and deny that from happening. Sure, he wasted a little bit of energy, but, you know, it's worth the risk to try and kill off a big group of Stalkers like that. That's going to lose a game for a Protoss player immediately. Now, we do have Broodlord tech on the way here, which that means that Squirtle's going to be in a pretty good shape here to actually attack in the next couple of minutes when a Zerg player is going for that Broodlord tech, especially if they have Corruptors out, which I don't think we see Corruptors on the field quite yet, but that's going to cue the attack here, I would say, from Squirtle.
He might. Oh, I like this. He's going to go ahead and sacrifice this, move his army around. In fact, he might just go ahead and attack the natural. He could do a severe amount of damage to the production. He's going to move forward, tries to get a Ling run by, and all the roaches moving forward. And will we see Squirtle, Squirtle go in and protect this, or possibly go for an attack against viOLet? A lot of damage might be done here.
Wow, it does look like Squirtle actually split his army up. You don't see the this nearly enough out of Protoss players. He knew that he was going to be trapped right here. The force field is still going down. Those roaches desperately trying to get inside the main base, but it does look like a pylon able to prevent that from happening, as well as the additional force fields continue to be thrown down. And then he warps in even more units to prevent it from happening. He now has a huge concave. Every single stalker is going to be attacking here, and he is going to clean this up with relative ease. The control out of Squirtle was absolutely phenomenal. But what is the follow-up going to be for viOLet? I don't think Broodlords are going to fare very well versus this many stalkers.
No, they're not, but he's got a lot on the way. He's also got, he saved all those infestors. He's got his spines down, but keep in mind, this Protoss army can attack this fourth from behind it. And we do see a couple of spines actually making their way over there, try to get in that position, but is he going to be ready for this? I do like the defensive fungals that are going to be here. He's got, oh nice, he does allow the spines to actually do some damage, but there's the blink forward. More Broodlords coming in from the back, and the fungals are going to be key here.
He needs to kill off these Broodlords. Squirtle, no, he's actually going to be retreating here on the high ground. This attack was completely fumbled. We've seen this game go back and forth and back and forth. I was watching there for a second, and there was mini volleys from the Stalkers attacking the Broodlings instead of attacking the Broodlords, and that means now that viOLet utilizing those spine crawlers, you're talking about them, where really Zerg players are starting to rely on those more and more. They realize that, hey, getting these out is actually a huge benefit to my game. It prevents me from losing these pushes where I just traded my entire army to do a little bit of damage. Now I need to sit back and go into recovery mode. Now we do have a fleet beacon on the way, as well as 2 Archons. You have to remember, Archon's going to clean up the Broodlings very quickly. It allows the Stalkers to engage those Broodlords, and also, if we see a mothership on the field, Vortex is very good late game PvZ.
Yeah, and right now, viOLet, I'm kind of worried for the state that he's in. He used a lot of those drones to go ahead and make those spine crawlers. He is now droning back up in addition to building units at the same time, but he is about 11 workers behind his opponent, and Squirtle definitely has map control right now. You see viOLet continuing to try to spread that creep, but it has been hindered quite a bit by these observers that are all over here for Squirtle. So we're going to kind of have a breather here for a moment, but when we come to this next phase of the game, that will be when that mothership is going to be coming out, cooling that energy, trying to get that perfect vortex. More Broodlords are coming out, but of course they're not really in a mobile position to be able to attack that fourth yet.
Now, I've been keeping an eye on the production tab, and viOLet has just lost so much momentum. He's not able to build up a lot of units here. I mean, now he is finally making Broodlords and Infestors, but for a while there, his supply was hovering at 130 while his opponent is racing to 187. We see phenomenal upgrades out of Squirtle as well, but I do want to say, if viOLet can get another favorable engagement here, you know, at his spine crawlers, on his own terms, at his home turf, then, you know, he can definitely turn this around. There is ways to deal with this amount of Stalkers, and then, you know, Immortals can't shoot Broodlings, and they're not very good, or they can't shoot the Broodlords, and aren't very good versus Zerglings either, so he can deal with this unit composition. He just has to be so careful with these Broodlords.
Ooh, well, you know what? He's moving up the side of the map where there is vision with this Stalker at the Xel'Naga Tower, so he should be able to see this coming. All the Broodlords are going to be advancing forward. That mothership is about ready to pop, and of course, Squirtle will try to do everything he can. You can already see that the Overseers are here, and he is going to try to hit a timing before that mothership has a vortex, and it's going to be able to do some damage, and I like this avenue of attack he's going for. Oh, the Immortals are just sitting out there doing nothing. They're going to get eaten alive by those Broodlords.
You know, honestly, I wonder if he meant, that is so many Broodlings, by the way, I wonder if he meant to get rid of those Immortals, because the Immortals aren't going to serve much purpose, although we do see Roaches being mixed in now, but he has to deal with the Broodlords. He has no flying units right now to deal with this. He made his trade for a base race, and I don't think that upgrade was going to finish. It was so close to being done, and he is indeed going to go for the base race. He's got to be going, sending everything down to the bottom left side. He realizes, look, Broodlords are slow. In a base race scenario, I have Stalkers. They're much quicker. I can blink around. I can avoid the Broodlords as long as I possibly can. Squirtle needs to save up as much money as he can. He needs to start building nexuses at either corner of the base, or either corner of the map. He has done that in the top left side as well. And this game, at this point, it's going to come down to, can he actually kill the Protoss base quickly enough with these slow-moving Broodlords?
Well, he's going to go ahead and target down some of these crucial buildings here inside the Zerg main. We see the Greater Spire go down. One of the Evo chambers has fallen. The Roach Warren is coming next. This Broodlord army is still looking intensely crazy, and most of the drones here now are for viOLet at his fourth. I can't believe this, that we've actually got to this point of the game. Looks like a lot of the production is going to be going down here for Squirtle as well, thanks to these Roaches doing a lot of damage. But will he be able to move to the fourth, get rid of that quick enough? And there's also a base in the northwest established for Squirtle.
Oh, wow, this game is actually getting extremely intense here because I don't think the Protoss can deal with the amount of Broodlords that are on the field. Let's take a look at the units tab now. We do have 9 Archons. He did manage to get those up. That means if he can get 1 Vortex on this army, these Archons are going to clean up whatever pops out of that Vortex. Absolutely no question in my mind that he'll be able to do that. But can he land the good Vortex? It's going to be tough, and viOLet has to be very careful because he has no production.
He has no production. He did get a fungal, but there's the Vortex. A lot of those are going to go in. He needs to move those back. He needs to also keep the Archons out of the way for Kid Forward, but there's the blink forward. A lot of these Broodlords are going down. Several of them still inside that Vortex, and they are about ready to pop, but the Archons are not inside.
Only 3 Broodlords in that Vortex. We still able to pull further and further ahead. The supplies are 88 to 108, and the Void Rays could be the saving grace here, as there's not a lot of anti-air left for viOLet. It does look like his supply is plummeting here. You have to remember, though, that both players are mining off of just 1 or 2 bases, and it does look like Squirtle will be able to hang on. There's only a singular Broodlord left, and can he kill off that base with 1? I don't think so here. Squirtle's got to be in great shape, and his main base, you got to remember, is not completely destroyed. He still has a little bit of production, even if it's only a tiny bit.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. He did have a few pylons taken out there, a few gateways, but the Roaches did have to come back in. Now, one thing viOLet did not do is he really didn't throw down a ton of spine crawlers as a result, and he's going to find this base over here. It will get taken out. I feel like right now, Squirtle's in a great position to take game number 1.
Yeah, now he will be going up against a lot of spine crawlers. While there's not any at this expansion, the 1 remaining mining base does have a lot. Now, you mentioned before he can attack from the high ground. That is so true, but right now he's just beefing his way into the spine crawlers. Has to be very careful. I think even utilizing this War Prism to prevent the mining at this location would be good. But Squirtle right now, I mean, he's fully saturated at this base, and at he's starting to get saturated in the top left as well. So really, where can viOLet expand to? He's got this base which only has 3 mineral patches, so viOLet is in a world of hurt right now.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think Squirtle can go ahead and just take a breather himself. He's got this observer to see exactly what's going on. Probably notes there's not that many spine crawlers. Sure, there are a ton of infestors, but is that going to be enough to actually be able to defeat this army? I think no, that would be very, very difficult. And wow, Stefano did just 2-0 parting.
Yeah, Stefano advancing through the brackets, man. He may talk a big talk sometimes, but he also walks the walk. Still the most successful non-Korean StarCraft 2 pro. So yeah, just a quick update. Stefano 2-0ing parting right now. And right now we are going to be seeing a continuation of this game. So if you're just tuning in by switching over, we've had a pretty epic game. They finished their whole series. We're still on game number 1 here. DJ, we were at 32 minutes, and you know it's a long PVZ when there's a mothership.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's got quite a bit of energy now. In fact, by the time the next engagement may come down, it just actually might be a double Vortex time. Now, the one thing that I feel like viOLet might be able to do to try to get back in this game is to really get inside the main base and try to punish this production a little bit. It's the one thing that we did see Squirtle get over his opponent. He went into the Zerg main, he killed so many production units that actually prevented him from building anything for quite some time. And although a little bit was taken down, it's relatively undefended at this point.
And yeah, I mean, he's got cannons at his expansions here. Drops in the main base would be relatively successful. You can see that, well, just momentarily ago, Squirtle was very high on the minerals because he realized, oh, most of my gateways are actually unpowered. So he went ahead and put those down. But his production now is basically back into full swing. And really, what can viOLet do here? He is morphing this into a lair. He canceled the lair he had over here, realizing it was much more exposed. But viOLet, I mean, a 1-base Zerg versus a 3-base Protoss, that's going to be tough. We also do not see the Broodlords anymore. He simply can't afford it. He has to also get that tech back up. And at this point, all he has is some Infestors and some Roaches, which Infestors can work a lot of magic, but I don't think he can get him out of this situation.
Yeah, I mean, where's the Mothership too? It's just hanging back. It does have 2 Vortexes ready to go. Is this going to be a, oh, we might go into another base trade situation. A lot of Roaches heading on over here to try to take away this third. He's going to go after that pylon, power down those cannons, and immediately he should go for the Nexus. He might want to retreat back into the main of his opponent and try to work on some of the production. He is going to be able to snag this Nexus, but he needs to get out of there. There's the blink on top. He's going to go ahead and kill as many of these as he possibly can before he retreats back. and tries to suffer as little damage as he possibly can. I think he got away with there with relatively very little damage, but here these Stalkers continue their chase.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely a cost-effective exchange for him, but the main problem is that he needs to do that a lot more because there's a couple bases remaining here. Although viOLet managing to sneak up a base down here in the bottom right side, I don't think this has been spotted by Squirtle, but you have to remember, Squirtle's army is just so massive that he can continue moving around the map like this. He doesn't have to die every single expansion that viOLet takes down. These High Templar do have Storm. They also have feedback. Is he going to use it? Which one's he going for? No, the Fungal Growth's going to be whittling this army down a little bit. Storms go down, but they're not the best versus Roaches, especially the Speed Roach is able to move back and forth on that creep. So, I mean, Squirtle needs to be careful here. He's still way in the lead, but it's definitely possible for him to completely fumble this. We do see one Vortex going down. The Mothership does have enough energy for a second Vortex as well, and the Warp Prism may get taken out here, but I gotta hand it to viOLet. He has quite the resilience in this match.
Yeah, absolutely. He's still down in supply, but he has been holding on. He does have Neural Parasite as well, so that might be his plan to deal with that Mothership, but I'll tell you what, Squirtle's doing such a great job keeping that in the back, and here we go. It looks like he's going to try to go in yet again. Fungals blanket the entire army, but certainly there's going to be another Vortex coming in any moment. We do see those Storms go down yet again. The Roaches do pull back, and he's retaining these Infestors quite well, but it looks like Squirtle's pushing closer and closer to that base.
Feedbacks on the Infestors going down, taking a couple of them out. You want to try and click on the ones with the highest energy because that is a guaranteed one-shot kill. And if we do go down here, a huge Storm on the Roaches, even though Roaches are very resilient to the Storms, when they're pumped up that heavily, it can still take them out. We do see now Squirtle finally has the momentum he needs to close out this game. The big Vortex soaks up every single unit, and if Squirtle hops up in that Vortex or just surrounds it here with a couple of his units, he is going to be able to clean this up, and in he goes.
Wow.
That means as soon as this army pops out, the drone's getting pulled off the line. I mean, really, viOLet is going to be going all in at this point. The units do pop out. Archons, they love that toilet. Look at this, 41 kills on this Archon in the center. There's the GG. Game number 1 is going to go to Squirtle. An epic 37-minute game between these players. Absolutely phenomenal. And so that means that viOLet realizing I can get this close. For some reason our monitor's not working, but I don't know if you can see the score screen, if it's still up here or not, but the scores were 219,000 to 210,000. So close on the scores.
Insane.
And on the graphs as well, they were, if you look at them, they were changing their army sizes back and forth and back and forth. And viOLet, even towards the end, had a huge army. But once he lost all those Broodlords, it was over. I would say that game really wasn't decided until that entire army got destroyed. That big Broodlord ball, it was back and forth for both these players throughout that game.
Yeah, I mean, I think just some like sort of key moves or maybe mistakes, if you will, is when viOLet didn't really get as much production damage done against Squirtle as he probably could have when he went in and attacked that main. Also, at the end, I don't know if you saw it, but we did see the attempted Neural Parasite of the Mothership, but literally it was like as the Neural Parasite head is going out, it just died instantly.
Man, that Infestor wishing he was a Dark Templar from Broodlord Man, where it's like an instant cast and you immediately have their unit with mind control. Now we do see Daybreak is going to be the map choice here for viOLet. And any thoughts on why he might choose that?
You know, Daybreak is just, from a PvZ perspective, it's what Zerg players really like. It allows them to get that third up. It's really far away from one opponent's third to the other third. And then also, when you get to that late game, you set up that spine crawler wall in the middle. You're able to protect that 5th base really, really well. So, you know, I just think that a lot of Zergs like this because once they're getting that nice amount of Roaches to come out, they can oftentimes deny their opponents their